Welcome to Inside Gaming, I'm Jack, and today we have a special edition of Roundup. Since the holiday makes it a little hard to put together a timely show about video game news while being out of the office, we are going to do something different on today's Roundup instead. We have video game award predictions. Everyone loves predictions, right?
Can you swear here? Can you swear?
Okay.
The Oscars, you know? The Oscars! You! I'll tell you!
Yeah, let's do it! The Video Game Awards is happening in just a few days on Thursday, December 8th, so we thought it would be a good time to go over some of the stronger categories and try to predict the winners. I mean, every category, it's special, but we're only picking a few today, so, you know, it's not like the stronger, but we are gonna throw out some honorable mentions and cry foul for the obvious snubs along the way, but ultimately, we're just here to shoot the breeze about the best video games that came out this year, or at least the ones that qualified for consideration. Let's kick things off with the best narrative category. And not to worry, this whole episode will be spoiler free, mainly because a lot of these games I haven't actually played, but Evan plays them all. The best narrative nominees are A Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, and Immortality. It's always fun to see a small game like Immortality go up against the big AAA hitters at a category like this, because it really does call into question the types of metrics we use to determine value. How do you compare a 6-hour full motion video mystery to a 45-hour Norse epic, or even a 16-ish hour game like Plague Tale Requiem? Throw in a game like Elden Ring that reveals a lot of its narrative through environmental storytelling, boss encounters, and weapon descriptions, and there are really just about 100 different things you could argue to elevate any one game's narrative journey over the others. The Game Awards is traditionally an event that makes people think of big AAA games, so no one would blame you for predicting that God of War Ragnarok takes it here. That story has a ton to offer with lots of dynamic characters, and it resolves some huge questions players have been dying to get answered since 2016. However, Immortality being the only indie game that broke into the nominees indicates that it probably has a decent chance of winning as well. Likely not, though. The big snubs here are Citizen Sleeper, which probably got panned for being a slightly more interactive visual novel, and Xenoblade Chronicle 3, which probably got panned because it's a 60-hour JRPG. Is there any shorter ones? I don't know. Now let's move on to Best Art Direction. The nominees are Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Scorn, and Stray. Obviously, every category is going to be incredibly subjective, but this one lands weird since two of the nominees are punching at such an incredibly high technical level that it's hard to separate that achievement from the art direction itself. And then there's Scorn, which is, well, it just nails what if everything was covered in alien flesh and gross wall tentacles. Yeah, it's very H.R. Geiger. And then there's Stray, which is a really fun take on a dystopian future, not those lame ones, through the lens of you being a cat, which is cool. All these games look really great. For our 2 cents though, Elden Ring should win this category. There are multiple times during the first playthrough where the environment completely subverts your expectations in the most incredible ways and makes you stop and say, holy shit, right? It's incredible. Unironically, there is an elevator ride, which just might be one of the coolest moments in a game this year, and it's achieved primarily through very clever and concise art direction. Sure, Scorn is gross, but just traveling through Khalid for the first time in Elden Ring elicits an incredibly strong and almost physical discomfort. And there's tons more examples where the art direction in Elden Ring makes you feel sad or anxious or even relieved. It should win here, but the award for Best Art Direction is likely going to go to God of War Ragnarok. And that's okay too, because, well, the game is very beautiful. The snubs here include Tunic, Cult of the Lamb, Signalis, and Return to Monkey Island, which are all smaller games for sure, but they are all doing their own thing to try and really stand out. The biggest snub here though, Marvel Snap. That's right, you heard it. It's a mobile game, but it's incredible art direction, and I love it. I can't stop playing it. The cards look great. It's pulled straight from the comics, and flashy backgrounds and glowing titles. Come on now, how does that not win? Okay, maybe I understand why it doesn't win. All right, I think we better take a break. There's more games and awards to discuss, but let's first talk about Brilliant.org. What is Brilliant.org, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. Brilliant is an online learning platform that focuses on specific STEM skills to help you be a better thinker. And we can all use the opportunity to be a better thinker, right? I mean, you can go learn some new stuff, plug it into your brain, and suddenly you have something to talk about at parties. Hey, it's good for everyone. There are courses for ambitious people of all ages. Build confidence with hands-on learning and let your natural curiosity drive you, not the threat of a test. Brilliant is the best way to learn math, science, and computer science interactively. There are courses for logic, computer science fundamentals, and scientific thinking. There are thousands of lessons with exclusive new content added monthly, and with Brilliant, you don't have to spend 4 years and a fortune to understand this stuff. School loans are not a joke. All of the courses are crafted by award-winning teachers, researchers, and professionals, including specialists from MIT, Caltech, Duke, Microsoft, and Google. To get started for free, visit brilliant.org/insidegaming or click the link in the description. The first 200 of you will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. Okay, now let's get back to our bold predictions for the 2022 Game Awards. Next up is Best Score and Music. It's a category people tend to get very invested in, most likely because we all spend hundreds of hours listening to game music that repeats constantly. So naturally, there are a lot of opinions. The nominees this year are Olivier Derivière for A Plague Tale Requiem, Suka Saito for Elden Ring, Bear McCreary for God of War Ragnarok, Production Studio 2 Feathers for Metal Hellsinger, and Yusunori Mitsuda for Xenoblade Chronicle 3. The swelling and orchestral sounds used in God of War and A Plague Tale are certainly effective, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3 has tracks for days, but there is something to be said about a game that literally lets you play along to its soundtrack. Metal Hellsinger, if you don't know, is an FPS game much like Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, but your actions somehow always seem to line up perfectly with the music playing, and it rules. We would love to see Metal Hellsinger win this category, but our official prediction is going to Xenoblade Chronicle 3, partly because it has a range, but also, unfortunately, because it lines up a little more closely with what people think of when it comes to traditionally great soundtrack. You know, which it is, but we hope we're wrong and Metal Hellsinger takes it. The biggest snubs here, Sonic Frontiers doesn't have the traditional music you would expect from a Sonic game, but people are out there vibing. Neon White should get credit for crafting amazing tracks that get you into the zone to speed run 20-second levels for hours on end without getting sick of them. And then there's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's right, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, which just has banger after banger. When the hoverboard blimp level hits and you find out the song has vocals, well, let's just say Evan did a fist bump into the air so hard it almost knocked off the goddamn roof of his house. Let's go. Also, there's a Ghostface Killer track that plays while you fight Shredder on one level. Just saying, just killer bees. Now, before we get to the main event, let's spotlight some little guys and talk about the best indie game nominees. Cult of the Lamb, Neon White, Sifu, Stray, and Tunic. It's an incredibly stacked list of games. However, this one is really to come down to Stray and Neon White. Sifu is an incredible action game, but its initial difficulty might have prevented a lot of judges from ranking it too high. Tunic, on its surface, looks like a run-of-the-mill Zelda clone, so it's likely been overlooked as well. There's a lot of love for Cult of the Lamb, and I've seen tons of people land that one, but Stray really did take the wider world by storm. Usually, there are just cat videos on the internet, but when Stray came out, all of the cat videos were just cats watching Stray. It was cats on cats on cats. Neon White, on the other hand, had its own spotlight for a while as members of the games press and players alike battled each other for top leaderboard spots. The games media makes up a large chunk of judges for the Game Awards, so it's easy to see it taking the indie crown here. However, Stray making its way into the Game of the Year nominees is a signifier that a majority of judges would probably pick it over the rest of the games here. So we can say confidently that Stray is the most likely game to win this category. The biggest snub here, and maybe of the entire event, is Vampire Survivors. It's a game that's beauty is in its simplicity, but also in making a build of overlapping death mechanics that just decimate everything in your path. The 0 to 100 feeling you get when a build clicks is pretty unique, and it should certainly be recognized. All right. Let's get to it. It's Game of the Year. We're finally there. We made it to Game of the Year. It's one of the better lineups of games we have seen, especially compared to last year, but it's certainly a little weighted. The nominees are A Plague Tale Requiem, Horizon Forbidden West, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, and Stray. That's impressive. As you have likely seen, this one is going to be split between Elden Ring, a game which broke YouTube viewership records this year, and God of War Ragnarok, the very anticipated sequel to a game that won Game of the Year back in 2018. Either game is a really solid prediction for this category, and you can look at things like their Metacritic scores, their sales, to try and make an informed guess, but it's probably going to be a very close race. We're going to guess Elden Ring takes it though, if only because it seems to have lowered the barrier to entry for a lot of players and potentially judges, making it their first real From Software game experience. It's been a while for a lot of us, but overcoming that initial game loop and learning the ins and outs of a Souls game is filled with multiple revelations that really starts to change your entire perspective on games altogether. So we're willing to bet that judges experiencing a From Software game for the first time, combined with those who are already bought in, will likely vote for Elden Ring over God of War. But the most obvious choice don't always win in the Game Awards, so who could say? As for the snubs in this category, we are gonna leave that up to you in the comments. We've already mentioned a ton of great games that are out there, so please tell us in the comments what you feel got snubbed. I gotta go with Marvel Snap, right? That's the game of the year for me. As a recap, here's our officially sealed envelope for the Game Awards in 2022. Remember, these aren't our personal picks, again, Marvel Snap, just what we think the judges will pick before the show airs on December 8th. Okay, that's gonna do it for today. Roundup will be back next week to its regular format. Thanks for watching. Have yourself a great weekend. Bye, everyone.